If you cannot handle objections, you will never be an elite closer. It does not matter how good your tonality is or how sharp as a tack you are when you pitch your actual product or service. The top 0.5% of closers and setters live and die by how they respond to when a prospect tells them, "I need to think about it." Today in this video, I'm going to give you the exact framework we use here at Sales Match to turn objections into closed deals. Now, one thing that a lot of people get wrong is, especially closers when they get in the rut, is when they hear objections, they think that, oh, the person is out. That is actually quite the opposite. The 99% of closers, they flinch when they hear resistance or objections. But please remember, you have to get in the mindset of a 0.5% closer and actually think that objections are not rejections. They are indicators of interest, right? So again, objections are not rejections. They are indicators of interest. So every single time you hear an objection on a sales call, remember, it is an indication of interest. It is one step closer to the close. So get excited about that, right? Now, if somebody says, I need to talk to my partner, they are not saying no to you specifically. What they are saying is, I'm not sold yet. As an elite closer, you have to read between the lines and not get discouraged when somebody passes objections on your way, right? Here's the wrong way that most reps go about it, and what we've seen does not work. If somebody throws an objection your way on a sales call, there is no quicker way to lose a sale than to argue, get defensive, push even harder so that the rep feels that, or the prospect feels you are pushing them, big no-no, or worse, you back down and say something like, totally understand, let me know. That is absolutely horrendous. You can kiss the sale goodbye if you're getting defensive or argumentative on a call. Those are two big no-nos, and you should never, ever, ever get defensive or argumentative on a call. That is the worst thing you can do. Alex Hormozy says it the best, and if you're watching this, you probably know who Alex Hormozy is. And he specifically says, you have to maintain childlike curiosity. And I love that framework and mindset, specifically in sales, right? Because if you get defensive or argumentative, right, you lose the sale. So instead of your mind, when you get those urges of being defensive, right, because it is in human nature, if somebody gives us pushback or they don't agree with us, we get defensive, we get argumentative. But it is your job as an elite closer to turn those emotions, right? You need to manipulate your own emotions, not just the prospect's emotions, right? So when you get those feelings of being defensive or argumentative, right, that is an indication that you need to turn on your childlike curiosity. Get curious, right? Try to understand the prospect's perspective, because you need to be with your prospect on this sale, right? If it's you against the prospect, you are never going to come to terms or never get that deal closed. So you have to figure out, well, how do I get in the mindset of my prospect? And the way to do that is to have childlike curiosity and to ask targeted questions to your prospect and when talking to them, right? So essentially the framework we use here at Sales Match is the mirror, validate, reframe framework, right? So essentially it works like this, and let's break it down real quick. Let's start with a mirror. If somebody throws an objection at you, repeat exactly what they said. Right? So if they say, oh, I need to talk to my partner, right? You can say, let's just pretend the prospect's name is Ryan, right? Hey, Ryan, totally understand, got it. So you need to talk to your partner, right? That's the first mirror. You mirror exactly what they say, right? People like hearing their own name, and also they want to hear that, you are listening, you're engaged, you're paying attention to them, and mirroring what they said is showing that you are paying attention to the prospect itself, right? So I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my partner about it. Totally understand, Ryan. Got it. You need to talk to your partner. Completely understand. Now you move into the validation section, right? So you basically normalize their concerns, right? That you want to make them feel like they're not the only person having these thoughts, or they're not the only person that need to think about it, right? So to validate it, right, we can start again with mirror, validate. So I'm gonna start on mirroring again. Got it, Ryan? You need to talk to your partner, completely understand. This is an important decision that you're making. So, completely understand that you need to talk to your partner there, right? Validate their concern. And the validation part is, totally makes sense. This is an important decision. You validate that their feelings are true, right? Because the worst thing you want to do is say no. You're not thinking about this. Obviously, you're not going to say that, right? But you don't want to go down that train of thought, right? You want to make them feel important and that they're making the right decision. So, got it. You need to talk to your partner. Completely understand. This is a very important decision, right? Now we got to reframe that exact question, right? And shift their mindset. That is the goal here. So, one way we can reframe is as follows, right? Well, let me ask you this, Ryan. If your partner said yes right now, would you be ready to move forward, right? And the reason we're asking this is to uncover the real objection, right? And sometimes the real objections are just not said to us, right? Because at the end of the day, people think of salespeople as grinding, right? We are here to help people, right? And we need to make the prospect understand that we are here to help them specifically, right? So you need to be careful with your tonality, the way you say things, right? So if we get, let's break it down from the top down to the bottom, right? I need to talk to my partner. Okay, mirror, validate, reframe. Let's start. Ryan, completely understand you need to talk to your partner. This is a big decision and a lot of money is involved, so your feelings are completely valid, right? Moving to the reframe. Well, Ryan, let me ask you this. If your partner said yes today, would you move forward? Right? And what you're doing there is to try and again uncover the true objection and reassert your control of the frame, right? Without being too pushy, because if you're too pushy, you're never going to get the sale, right? So you have to balance this correctly. And I always say you have to play the man, play the prospect, play the woman, right? Play the actual person or the prospect that's on the call, right? Every situation is different. Sales is fluid, it moves, right? There's no one exact script or framework that will work for every single prospect that you're talking to. So that is where you come in, and your intuition as a top 0.5% closer comes in. You have to be able to think on your feet. You have to be nimble. Sales is fluid, right? And if you see that they're, getting agitated, their guard is going up. You have to lower their guard, right? So let's go into some other objections, right? Another common one is, I cannot afford it, right? That is a big one we always get, all industries always get, right? I cannot afford this right now. Again, mirror, validate, reframe, right? Mirror, totally understand. So right now it just feels like our offer is out of reach financially, right, Ryan? Pause, right? And then I'll say something. Or alternatively, move straight into the validation. This is where your intuition as a top 0.5% closer has to come in, right? So I cannot afford this right now. Ryan, completely understand that this just feels out of reach financially right now. A lot of our top performers actually felt the same way when we had this conversation. And now we move into the reframe, right? Now, Ryan, what they realized was if they didn't invest in mastering their sales, they'd be stuck in the same income level next year. So let me ask you this, is it more of a cash flow thing, or is it a belief in the ROI that we're presenting, right? Now you're getting, again, you're mirroring what they're saying so they can feel understood, right? You're validating so they can feel valid, their question and concerns are valid, and you're reframing, you're asking them a different question to get to the real objection. Another reframe, number 2 here, which I actually prefer a little bit more, it works as follows, right? So, hey, Craig, I cannot afford it right now. Ryan, completely understand. Right now, it just feels a little bit out of reach for you financially. Actually, a lot of our top performance, Ryan, they felt the exact same way when we first had this conversation, right? But Ryan, allow me to ask you the couple questions here. Is it that the offer isn't worth it, or is it just that the timing right now isn't right with the cash flow that you currently have? Right? Again, see my tonality there? Bring it down, slow it down, right? Make them feel calm, because if you speed things up, a lot of, sales people, they'll speak so fast, right? Bring it down, slow it down, make them feel heard, make them feel understood, make them feel comfortable, right? That's the whole goal here, is to slow things down and reframe so we can get to the real objection, right? At the end of the day, you're not being pushy, right? If you're being pushy, you're going to lose the sale. You need to lead. That is what the pros do. You're leading, not pushing, right? Now let's go into another objection here, which we get a lot, which is, I need to think about it, right? We get that all the time in every single industry. We need to think about it. Mirror, validate, reframe, right? So mirror, Ryan, totally get it that you need to think about it. A bunch of our top clients actually wanted to think through it too when, we had this exact same call. Well, just so I can help you think through it, Ryan, what part are you exactly unsure about? Or, usually when somebody says this, Ryan, it's either price, timing, or trust. Which one is it for you, right? You see what we did there, guys? We actually went mirroring, validate what they said, right? Mirror, validate, so they feel, their concerns are validated. It's warranted. They're not, it's not unnormal for them to think this way, right? Put them in the bunch of your top clients. So you're validating them and putting them in the same category as our top clients, right? So Ryan, completely understand that you need to think about it. Some of our top performers, when we had this conversation, they had to think about it too. Well, Ryan, just so I can understand and help you a little bit through this, what exactly are you unsure about? Usually when somebody says this, and I had this conversation, just the other day, Ryan, it's either about price, timing, or trust. It's those three things. So Ryan, which one is it specifically for you, right? See how we did that? And now we're going to get to the true objection. And once you pull out the true objection, whether it's price, right, you can work on payment plans, right? If it's timing, right, you go and ask them again. You always, as a top 1% closer, have to ask for the sale, right? So if it's timing, okay, well, Ryan, completely understand you need to wait a month here for X, Y, and Z reasons. When exactly would you be able to move forward here with us? Or when exactly are you going to fix this problem and allow us to, remove your time, get your time back so that you can scale your business? Because obviously that is what you want to do here, Ryan, is scale your business, right? And we're just here facilitating and helping you do that, right? And then exactly what I just did. Ask when they will be ready if it's a timing issue, right? And, if it's a trust issue, then unfortunately you just did not do a good job during the pitch, right? And a lot of that comes down to the marketing team as well, which is a video for another time, that, the marketing team needs to build that trust before they even get on a call with you, right? And it is, very well known that every single person that buys from you, right, or most people that buy from you, needs to have at least 7 to 10 touch points, meaning they need to see 7 to 10 different, pieces of content, of you or your company, or, see on different platforms such as Trustpilot, what your reviews are and so on and so forth. They need to consume more content in order to trust you. And that generally comes down to marketing. But let's not get into, marketing versus sales and blame each other here. Hey guys, real quick, if you're looking to change your sales organization for the better and you want us to handle the constant grind of, vetting, interviewing, calling Xboxes, doing mock interviews to find top talent, we can do that struggle or handle that for you. So if you want to click the link down below and book a free consultation call with us, I want to invite you. I personally hop into these calls now and again. Hopefully I get to speak to you personally so we can see what you need, what type of rep you need, the culture fit you need, and exactly the profile you're looking for, and we can go and recruit that talent for you. So if you're interested in us having to go find you setters or closers or MDRs, click the link down below, schedule a free consultation call, and remember, we have nothing to sell you if this does not work out or if this is not a good fit, but at least I can point you in the right direction. So if you're a business that is doing over $20,000 a month in revenue, book a call with us, let's chat and see how we can help you.